How's everybody doing? You all right? So good to be here. Such an honor to be part of this incredible festival. Thanks for the invitation. Honored to share the stage with these monsters that I'm all a fan of. So, first of all, I usually like to start by asking how many drummers in the house? Okay. And then how many real musicians in the house? See, ideally, I would have liked for you to raise your hand twice, everybody. Because that's why I'm here. I would like to talk a little bit about how we can focus on this beautiful instrument to make it more into a musical instrument rather than just drums. To think of yourselves as musicians that just happen to play the drums, just like a piano player. You don't say, that's such a musical piano player, such a musical saxophone player, because music is embedded in those instruments. But usually, when a drummer is very sensitive and is really listening, you say, oh, what a musical drummer. And that shouldn't be. All drummers should be musical. Don't you agree? Yeah. Cool. So I'm going to give you a little bit of how I think about music, how I think about this instrument, so that I can be a little bit more interesting. Because you can play your whole life, you can play great, you can have amazing technique, you can play with many bands, and then your solo comes and you don't know exactly what to do, and you just can rely on your technique, subdivisions, time, all those things, your basics, but you're not really saying anything interesting, right? You're not really communicating. And as musicians, the main thing we have to be aware of is, are we communicating? Are we saying something? It's very hard to hold people's attention nowadays. Everybody's scrolling, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So to grab people's attention, you need substance. And if you don't communicate while you are doing this, while you're making music, then in my opinion, we're failing. If I don't make you feel something while I'm performing, then I'm failing at music. I can be very impressive, right? I can do a lot of stuff, but you have to remember, you are not going to be playing for drummers your whole life. You're going to be playing for regular people, and also you do not want to impress a bunch of drummers. That's your goal, should not be that. You want to impress singers, you want to impress piano players, saxophone players, bass players, producers, DJs, because those are the people that are going to hire you. No drummer is going to hire you. So remember, music is so important. And the way I think about music is this thing called motivic development. A motif is just a phrase, and then how you're going to develop that phrase. And the way I try to think about this is using the main tenets of music. Every kind of good music has the same qualities, which are dynamics, melody, call and response, tension and release, repetition, space. For example, a very simple beat. If I play it with no dynamics, it can sound like this. There's nothing wrong with that. And for some situations, that would be great. But I like to infuse, dynamics into everything I try to do. So every note, I try to give it a little bit of personality, if possible. So it just, starts acquiring a different character, starts sounding more like music. Another thing, that's dynamics, right? Then melody. What is melody? Melody is something you can sing. If I play, could you guys sing that? I don't think so. I could not sing that. But if I think, that I can sing. Or see, so things that you can sing. That can be melodic playing. And this instrument is full of melodies. You have pitches, you have all kinds of things that you can do. And my philosophy is that from anything, you can create something. You can create music from absolutely anything. But there's a few rules that I try to follow. The first thing is I need to play something that I can remember. If you can't remember what you just played, then you cannot repeat it. And repetition is so important in music. You guys like the Beatles? I'm assuming, we're in Liverpool. You guys know who the Beatles are, right? Okay, she loves you, yeah. She loves you, yeah. She loves you, yeah. Okay, if you just say it like that, it sounds crazy. But that's such an important hook, right? If they didn't keep repeating that, then you would not remember that song the way you remember it. So repetition is very, very important. So if I start with any phrase, what I need is to repeat it. But there's something very important that happens in the middle, which is space. And what space does is that it gives me time to think. And music is like language. So when we're speaking, sometimes we create a little pause. You think what you're going to say, and then you finish your phrase. And you use commas and dots and question marks. All those things you also use in music. And then there's another thing, which is called question and answer, or call and response. And every kind of good music, it doesn't matter if it's classical, if it's pop, if it's jazz, music usually has the same characteristics. So try to finish my phrase. If I go bam 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 ba da ba 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 bam, okay, that's call and response. Dan da 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 da. Perfect. So very easy. So there's a phrase from a drummer that I love. I think is the perfect phrase made for drums that illustrates call and response. Let's see if you can guess who it is. Anybody? Max Roach, exactly. So he creates this phrase. This is a very common drumistic lick, right? But then he does, right? So he's developing that phrase in a few different ways. He transfers and he modifies where the phrase lands, and then at the end there's that beautiful two bass drums. So that's a really good example on the drums, how to do that. But then, like I said, space is so important just for me to understand what I'm trying to say. And I used to play a game when I was a kid with my mother. I called it the random line game. So you have two players, one sheet of paper, and a pen. So the first player just draws a random line, completely random, without thinking about anything. And then gives it to the next player, which was me as a kid. And then I had to make sense of this random line. So then I would draw two little things, and then it was a car or a little house. It's a very simple concept, but it's deep, because from nothing, you create something. From something completely subjective, you complete something concrete. So, for example, I'm gonna play something absolutely random, like if it was that random line, and then I'm gonna follow up with something that has absolutely nothing to do. To me, that doesn't make much musical sense, right? It's just like I'm just playing things. It's like if I was saying scrambled eggs, jazz, movies. I mean, if I said that in a conversation, you would be like, this dude is crazy, right? But if I said, I woke up this morning, I was hungry, I had some scrambled eggs, and then I wanted to practice some jazz, so I went to my practice room, I practiced for 3 hours, and then I got tired, I wanted to clear my mind, so I went to watch a movie. All of a sudden, those 3 random things that I said make sense, because there's connecting tissue. So what I need is connecting tissue behind my ideas. So for example, if I was gonna do the same phrase, totally random, that by itself, how do you turn that into music? That's the challenge. So I play it, leave space, play it again. Don't be afraid of space. So that is what I call storytelling. Thank you. So what I'm playing has the same DNA, right? If I'm doing this, I started without thinking of time or anything. And then I was like, okay, what can that become, right? And then all of a sudden I have a pulse. But I could do it with no pulse. How many different ways can I play the same thing and keep it interesting, right? So that's a very good thing to focus on, but you need patience and you need space. You have to make friends with space, and space can be terrifying, but it's very, very effective. For example, if I was gonna play, again, just kind of a simple beat, and then start leaving spaces in different, unexpected placings, then interesting things start happening. So what starts happening, it starts becoming a little bit unpredictable. You're not sure what's going to happen. And the surprise effect is very, very important in music. When it gets predictable, I think it can be, it just starts getting a little boring to me. So first rule, play something, leave space. Make friends with space and see what it can become. Now I'm going to give you a little example. For example, if you guys know what a vamp is, right? When there's something happening in the music that is steady, and if you're a drummer or you've played fusion or jazz, you usually have to solo sometimes on this kind of vamp. So I have this little vamp here that I composed, and the way I leave space, the way I leave space is by playing something very simple. And first, I'm gonna play that vamp, and I'm gonna play almost randomly, so that you can feel the difference between not thinking and just playing by reflex. I've been playing my whole life drums, and I can play by reflex all day long without thinking about what I'm doing. And be precise, and I have my licks and whatever, but I'm not really gonna think about anything. And then I'm gonna stop, and then I'm gonna try real hard to start building a story. And what does storytelling usually have? Like a good movie or a good book? Anybody? The most important thing. It has a plot, of course, but it has characters. So you have to build your characters. And you can have a main character, you can have different characters that will help the main character, but commitment is very, very, very important. So I'm gonna give you the two examples. So what I'm doing there, no, don't applaud for that. This is an example of what I would not do. Because I'm not thinking, I'm just playing a bunch of random stuff. I'm not trying to think phrases. I'm not leaving any space. And to me, space is so important in music because it's like breathing, it's like language, it's like life. You need to breathe. And space is breathing. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna play the same vamp, but I'm gonna play it with dynamics. And the way I'm gonna leave space is by playing just a little groove. So anytime I need time to think about what I'm gonna play next, I'm just gonna go to this. Something simple that I don't have to think about, but that still keeps the groove going. And then I'm gonna play phrases in between, trying to think, okay, what's next? What makes sense? Build a motif, a story. And that requires commitment to the character of the story, right? So I'm gonna try real hard to give you a good example. two things that I just played is one, I was not really thinking. I was just thinking of my subdivisions. I'm hearing click. So, like if there's my click, I'm only thinking. There's some cool stuff there, but it's just like blah, 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 blah. I'm not stopping at any given point, you know. So it's very different than if I go. It starts becoming like it has the same DNA what you're playing. And then of course you can move on to a different character, to something that keeps helping with the story. And you know, technique is so important, but it's important in the sense that it helps you to navigate, you know, music. Is just a means to an end. If you have a bunch of technique and you don't have any concept on how to use it, it's like if you give a machine gun to a 5-year-old. It's just like you're gonna kill everybody in the band with technique. And I was one of those, believe me. I had to learn the hard way. But when I started using dynamics, when I started listening to everybody in the band, interacting and thinking, okay, if I was listening to this, not playing, if I was listening to this, what would I want to hear next? And sometimes that would require me to go like, something very, very, very simple. So you don't have to play complex all the time. You can play simple and still play for the music. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna play a solo where I'm gonna try to really exploit all these different avenues. So dynamics, use of space, motivic development, right? Developing ideas, question and answer, call and response, tension and release, the element of surprise, repetition, all the things we've been talking about that are inherent to every kind of good music there is. I'm gonna try to build like a coherent story with an arc, and hopefully you can follow me. And what I'm trying to do here is just communicate ideas to you. Otherwise, it can all sound like blah 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 blah. And what I want every drummer here to start thinking about, what I would like for you to start thinking about, is just how to be more musical in general. You can use all the chops you have. But if you start thinking a little bit more this way, then all of a sudden you might surprise yourself with how musical this instrument can start sounding. So I'm gonna give it a shot. Thank you. So, every time I try to do one of these solos, I really try to not think of anything and really kind of make it up as I go along and use those rules, those resources that I was talking about. And hopefully you can take some of that with you and try to think of the drums in a completely different way. And now I'm gonna play one track from an album of mine that's called Lines in the Sand. And this track is called Bad Hombres y Mujeres. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thanks to Siljan, Yamaha, Remo, LP. Thanks to the UK Drum Show. This is amazing. Everybody that works here is just a master at what they do. And you guys are so lucky to have this. So once again, thanks again. And this is Bad Hombres y Mujeres. Thank you. One of my in-ears, but hopefully it'll be all right.